Riaz, we can't hear you.
We still can't hear you.
Still can't hear you.
He's lost his voice.
Now can I be heard?
Yeah.
Yes.
Until. Sorry, sir. What was that?
I said you had some kanthil. Kushal kanthil.
Oh, so we are at the end of this incredible 5 weeks. And everybody's looking completely exhausted. There's that kind of silence.
Yeah. So it's quite a journey, no? That all of us have been through. It turned out to be quite different from what each one of us, I suppose, had built up in our own minds as to what would happen. I think we also got to know each other much more through this whole process, which I never thought that online I would get to know so many people. I think that's also a very big expansion of oneself, which I hope has happened to all of us. I think it would have. I was looking today at what is it that we have done in these 5 weeks, and what is the nature of what we will put across to our visitors when they come. And I remembered one phrase which we had used somewhere about this sense of an offering. We are offering something as a mode or as an excuse, as a nimitta for understanding each other. It is a medium. This is not a product that we are putting across. It is something with which we hope to listen to each other, to listen to others, to bring together a dialogic way of still further understanding the questions that we have raised. Obviously, there cannot be solutions that we are looking for. This we said in the very first meeting that we had, that we don't consider this studio, and I think none of you have considered this studio to be a place of finding solutions. We have not thought in terms of defining problems. Rather, we have taken on the attitude of observers of a complex reality who see potentialities arising in the very act of observation without bias, an observation which is wide-ranging and not attempting to fix and standardize any understanding. Through that process, through that porous absorption of what is in front of us, what are its roots in our backgrounds. Through that process, we have tried to see emergent possibilities. So the first, I think, um, bit of advice to everyone who is going to present their work or who is going to offer their work. I will not use the word submission. It's a horrible term. It means bowing down and taking the beating that comes. We are not going into that mode of thought. We are going into a conversation. We are going into a conversation where we will bring a tray full of things and we will use that tray and someone will pick it up and say, wow, how did you make this? And someone will say, I don't like the smell of that. Can you put it aside for a while? It will be that kind of a conversation so that you're coming to the table with an offering. An offering based on deep sympathy with the reality that was in front of you and a sense of groping uh, to untangle the tangled threads and weave something out of it. So that we are not, I had said in the first introductory talk, we will not beat ideas into shape. We will untangle the tangled threads if possible, and we will try to reweave the threads in some way. This is what all of you have tried. And that would be my second sort of advice, that in presenting this, what is it that you have untangled and how have you woven it together is a very good mode of talking about what you have done. We have, to some extent, reversed the normal process of design. Normally, the genius architect imposes something upon the earth. He tells, and it's normally he tells rather than listens. And this process that you have all done has been a process of listening to each other, to what's happening to the world, to what's happening to mute reality, to happening to animals, happening to all forms of life. And in some way, you have tried to voice something of those who do not have a voice. Your attempt has been to voice that which is not visible. Because you found something on the way. That finding will stay with you for life. It is that finding which is more important than what you were able to do with that finding. Because the doing takes iteration after iteration. And it is something which is raw but full of feeling in the first stage. And this is what is the stage at which we are. At our raw sense of the place, of our people, of the world, is affecting the way we are thinking or the way we are putting across So if that becomes the base for also seeing what might I do further with this? What might I do further? More important than that, I think, is the one objective of the studio which has been through all our time. And that is, and I think none of us are happy to participate in anything which doesn't in some way transform us. And the purpose of this studio, for me at least, I'm sure for my colleagues as well, and for you, I hope it was so, that it has to some extent transformed something in you. What has it done to you? I think you should talk about that also. I think you should talk about whether there has been any change in the way you would understand the world and work with the world. Enter into reality rather than stand outside reality and parse it into its grammatical structures and parse it into its forms of organization and, and, and division. Rather, you plunge into a reality. You swim in that reality. And that probably has done something to your body. This morning I was listening to a talk by Rajiv Taranath, a recent one on Ravi Shankar's 100th anniversary. And he said, wonderful statement he made. He said that which you learn with your mind is something that you will forget. But something that you learn with your body will never be forgotten. Like riding a bicycle. I hope this studio has been like learning how to ride a bicycle. That you've fallen several times, your knees got grazed, and yet you still want to get onto that bicycle again and ride it. And if we are able to present it in that way, that we have learned with our bodies, our very bodies have changed, then we are at a different model of conversation. That conversation is about ourselves and the others who come to visit us. It's not a conversation about a product which fulfills its purpose or not. That product is a medium by which we are raising the discussion. Of course, everyone also talks about the product. That shape doesn't make sense, or that color doesn't find any place here. But that's not the essence of the conversation. The essence of the conversation is still going further into one more transformative experience. So, I am 100% confident that all of you have changed in one way or another through these 5 weeks. I have seen it in the expressions on all of our faces. I hope my face also has changed as much as yours has. And if that is the case, then only is it a successful studio. Otherwise, it's just one of those things. That's how we are going to talk. On Tuesday, when we are going to talk, we are going to say, well, as a group, and maybe all 4 of you, 5 of you, 6 of you, however many, may want to say something. You should organize that. You should organize the manner of putting across or offering, and then we will all sit together and taste what you have made. I think that's enough by way of setting up the sort of spirit in which we are going to discuss things. You others may want to add something.
So I think it's fair to say that it's been a learning process for even the instructors, and the transformation that Professor Chhaya is talking about has happened perhaps most deeply. I mean, for me, I can sense it. I can say for certain how the transformation has happened, in the sense that in the beginning, it was a studio which set out to achieve something. Through the talks, it kind of left. I think that the speaking stopped in some way or the other. We were all absorbent sponges, and we became these objects where we were completely taken by our surroundings and what was happening. And I thought that that was a beautiful, really a beautiful moment, where each talk pushed and pulled us in ways that we were not able to kind of fathom or even predict how that was happening. And I thought that was really magical. So I'm just speaking from my own experience, how this happened. And I think the whole focus on a product at the end of a studio is something that we all expect. And I think that product is fine at one level, but I think that the process is far more important. And this process has been, to my mind, very significant for a whole lot of us. For some, maybe it's partial, but I think there are very interesting moments where where one felt that the mind and body became one in some ways. And one has to articulate, or one may try to articulate how that happened, but it happened on numerous occasions. Anyway, I'll leave it to others to speak up.
Sudipto, go on. What you were saying was really important, I thought. And perhaps good to elaborate on that.
No, as practicing architects, we have kind of tasted one side of the world, and we've engaged with it in a manner where we have a program, a brief given to us from one side, and then you kind of take that and you try to mold it, twist it, change it so that it becomes something interesting. And then you start with solutions, solution 1, solution 2, solution 3. And I think that process, which is so ingrained in us, I think there is some way somebody has rattled that process. And I think that that shuffling of things in the mind was very important for me, particularly. How one, of course, builds on it over the years, over the months, when 5 weeks is just a beginning, and it must be imagined that that we take this work forward in some way in our own lives, in our own work, and in what manner can we in fact push this a little bit more, find out for ourselves what has been the key takeaway, or I wouldn't say takeaway, but a kind of a key moment where things got reimagined, or the object was suddenly changed and there was no way of bringing it back to the original. And I think that moment was somewhere in these 5 weeks for a lot of us, I would imagine. And we have to kind of go back into our minds and figure out when did that object suddenly reconfigure? Or has it, in fact, reconfigured itself beyond configuration, beyond kind of reconfiguring it back to what it was?
You know, for
Just a reminder, don't look so grim here. All the faces of this like they are in deep trouble. Huh? It shouldn't be the case. This should be a moment of great joy. Yeah.
sorry, Vignesh was going to say something.
Sorry, what?
No, you were going to say something, or
No. Just listening.
no? I mean, I was thinking about what Sudipto was saying, and I remember the sense one had when one graduated from college, that the world was open to be shaped, and that you had so many different thoughts about how it could be, and then slowly, whether it was situations or people that kind of told you that certain things are possible and certain things are not. And for me, this studio has been wonderful in reminding me that many of the things that one imagined to be possible are still alive in many people's imaginations, and in many kind of stories, in many types of practices that people brought to the studio in the forms of their talks. And I felt completely invigorated through the studio to think about these other imaginations. And I think what had become, this expression that Professor Chhaya just said, this dour, hopeless, a little bit like, what can I do to save the world, but nothing can be done kind of expression, is when you are somehow, you feel that there is only one way. Everything is showing you that there is this concrete dabba kind of way of making cities. And then suddenly 16 people show up very casually. You invited them by mistake. Some you knew, some you didn't know what they were going to talk about. You had heard of them. And 16 people told you, like, come on, there are, all these different ways of looking at cities, which don't have to do with center lines of roads and plumbing or traffic counts and all these kind of things. And I mean, looking at what you guys have put up today, I think that just having that out there, the possibility of those is it kind of reinforces or brings back a certain kind of joy for the city. And when Sudipto says, it's the mind and body comes together, I felt something very strongly during this. I used to walk the city of Ahmedabad quite a lot and ride around on a two-wheeler much more. And my sense of wanting to go out into the city and kind of look at these places that we were talking about, sit there at the chopal or on the hotela at a chai shop or whatever, was very, very visceral. and that sense that these are places that have uh, this joy was something that for me after a long time I felt it again. So I'm just sharing with you what the experience was like for this studio.
Actually, I agree with you on that. It changed the way I connected to the world here. That we are on one side having this virtual interaction and you're getting a lot of energies and you're accumulating it. But then it's beautiful when it transforms to your own world here. I felt that I was more kinder to people. I was more open for some reason. And for the past years, I've been like really like cutthroat kind of a thing. And it somehow opened a lot of things even with my everyday interactions here. That part was quite interesting for me. In that sense, I learned more than I offered, so to speak, to the studio. I'd say.
I think in one of the talks, again, I'm just misplacing the talk, but I think there was this whole, a sense of a blurring of the disciplinary boundaries. I think, Professor Chhaya kind of also alluded to this in many smaller interactions where, this like of being only an architect, right? I mean, that's one of the ways of framing it like that. Why be only an architect when you can be so much more? Like being a citizen is so much more empowering than being only an architect. Or for example, how architecture talks to activism, or how architecture talks to ecology, how architecture talks to geology. So I mean, all these different scales of thinking which will then manifest in various different kinds of just approaches to the city or approaches to our own context. So I mean, then building or manifesting buildings becomes one of the many tools in a large array of tools which include conversation, which include, just poetry, research. I mean, so many other beautiful avenues for work in that sense. And so for me personally, like, I mean, what is really interesting is that the redefinition of the word alter ego itself, like, because I brought a lot of baggage to this studio initially, like I felt it's going to be this very, rage against the machine kind of a studio where, you have the alter ego, which is actually placed in opposition to what is being manifested. But weirdly enough, I was like in this very, very fuzzy space like a couple of days ago, and I was just reading about the etymology of the word alter ego. And what's really lovely is that it comes from this idea of the second self or a trusted friend, right? So it's not set in opposition. Actually, it's someone who is walking with you and who's a second self. So in that sense, I mean, every single lecture, every single interaction, with all you guys, it's always been like one more person's got added to this journey next to me, who is now, some sort of an alter ego who I can, that person may lead the next project and I may follow. And, it's like this long line of people who are now walking together into so many future projects. So that's been like an incredible experience. So thank you guys very much for that.
I know. I think for me, I can say that I couldn't engage with it as much as I would have liked. So I've definitely like taken away much more than I've given. So it's I think it's been really great in the sense of I mean in many ways, but a couple of things that I can like immediately kind of tangibly think of is actually to be able to think of things beyond the tangible in a way. And this idea, like one of the things, like the talk I can think about is Shabnam Irmani's talk about it, and the idea that you can actually what do you say, and more than understand, to grasp and relate to the world in a way that is not filtered by intelligence or rational breaking down of things. And particularly today, when one is there is just so much information around, and there is just this idea that unless you analyze everything and you have to like read so many things and this and that, this idea of being able to kind of immediately relate to something by letting down the filters was kind of very empowering for me, I think. And I think so that was one thing. The other thing was this idea of being able to think beyond human time. So even like looking at whatever, when we study things, whether we look at settlements or whatever, we're still looking at it within human time. How much of a back we go. And this idea that I mean, it's much more than human time actually. Human time is such a small thing. And to look at like transformations and changes and everything in a much larger scale, I mean, I think that was also a very powerful thing, I think. I mean, these are just a couple of things. I'm sure more and more things will come along as one starts applying to things. I mean, I can already see when I look at my students' work that the way I look at it is different in some way. So I think, yeah, it's been great. Yeah, and of course, I've been looking at the master classes of Professor Chhaya. I've been following the videos past, so that's been a great learning.
No, yes, this point that you brought about the alter ego, it's a very, very important point. The world today is constructed to create violent oppositions because it benefits while all that is going on, and we can see it all around us. While that is going on, those who are in the make, you know, they can get on with whatever they want, whether it is corporate business, whether it is states, whether it is anything. They are happy that there are oppositions. And the only way to get over it is to find brothers. I mean, find brothers whom you don't like. You know, yesterday Tridip was giving a talk on Gandhi. And he was asked how come he was able to um, uh, like or, you know, so he said there was one thing. One was civility, the idea of civility. And he gave an example, wonderful example. There was this conference in Simla, and Gandhi used to like to go for a walk every morning. Now, if he came out on the streets of Simla, thousands of people would throng him and he would never be able to walk. So he thought he would walk in the Viceregal palace. Now, the Viceroy's thing is a private place, you know, it's not a public garden. So he wrote a letter to the Viceroy asking permission that can I come for a walk at 6:30 every morning? I will walk till 7:30 and then leave. And Viceroy, of course, wrote him a very gracious letter saying that please, yes, of course, you can come and free. So Gandhi went next morning and went to the gate, and he found that the Vicereine, that is the Viceroy's wife, was there waiting for him. And she said, since you have come, let us walk together. And I think this kind of a sense that we need to create a world in which we can listen without rancor and still stand for our what we consider cannot be given. That has to be a continuous search. That have I become rigid? Because in many of your works, I often found myself at a point saying, now, what shall I say? Am I being somebody who is just an old timer and saying something like this? Or has the student found something that I don't know about? This listening, this courtesy, if we start spreading around us, and that is why I call it an offering, then our sense of conversation changes. And it is hugely necessary to change conversations today from conversations of violent despair to conversations of careful listening and careful gauging of one's own thoughts, out of which action will flow some way, but not something which is somewhere. It might be necessary to take a hard stand. No denial of that. It is not that one becomes just, oh yes, who is saying and all that. But I think this is the necessary phenomenon. So architects also, many architects, I won't name, there's one very successful architect. I went to his office. He invited me. We used to talk to each other, talk in the studio together. He invited me to his office. And there was a small sketch of something which was put in a glass frame and put on the wall. And he said, Chhaya, do you know what that is? I said, well, no, I don't. He said, well, that's a project that I'm doing. But I said, why frame just that sketch? You know, it's just a beginning sketch. He says, no. In my office, when the client comes, there should be no paper on the table. There should be no pencil or pen available. And whatever I have done, however small it is, it will be behind glass so that the client cannot change anything. This is what we are taught in schools. And what we are learning together in the studio is not that. That is why something from Kakanagar comes to Kotla or goes that way. And all that is a way of saying we are all interested in something of a different world. We are not interested in the same world continuing, the same violent, horrible world. And that is the alter ego. The real alter ego is when that brother, you know, what is it that there is this famous biblical thing about the son who went away. I've forgotten what they say about it. Anyway,
Prodigal son.
Yes.
Prodigal son? No.
Yes, the prodigal son. The prodigal son and the prodigal brother and our own shadows. And the shadow is a very deep thing. They have to come back. So that right now we are separated from the shadow. There's no sunlight. And the shadow and the body have to come together. This is alter ego. Yeah, sorry, I tend to sort of wax into. These are concerns which of late, in the last 2-3 years, they've really become important. Just see how we are.
So it's important perhaps to say then that you will have about 15 to 20 minutes to share this with us as a group on Tuesday. And then we will open up for we'll open up for a conversation based on what you present to us. I think all that Professor Chhaya said and what we've discussed, that spirit of the studio, is what we are trying to prime you to consider when you are presenting the work, and not present it as a project or as a solution or as even a response, but to put that into a narrative that is part of your particular processes and your processes as people, as designers, as those who were asking questions, those who might have been uncomfortable, those who were excited, that entire range of emotions, of feeling that you went through while this project unfolded with people, the disagreements, the how would you say, finding complementary ground. I don't know how else to put it, but all of that is something that we would like to know about on Tuesday.
Yeah, you can talk about
So therefore, the 20. Yeah, sir. Sorry.
no, sorry to interrupt in between, but I think the, the straight way of telling is that you can even talk about the disagreements that you had in the group briefly, not make the whole story on that, but you could
Yeah.
talk. Yes, yes.
Or the disagreements you had with us, that would be even more fun. And how they played out. And I think that would be equally kind of because the I mean, I think when one talks about it in the way that Ayaz was talking about it, where we are walking together, we have a general idea. I have this kind of image of a group of trekkers as we used to when we used to go out on camp. They have a general idea of the direction that they're going in, but everybody reads the mountain and the forest in a different way, and everybody has a way of finding their direction. And it comes through disagreement. It comes through then taking some kind of path. And sometimes there's a very clear path, and sometimes there's not. So you can talk about it in with all of these different ways, and you will have had many kind of how would you say conversations that you might have shared internally, which were not part of larger groups, which you might think important to bring out. So even those conversations you may think necessary to open up to a larger group of people and share it. So that's really what these final two sessions are going to be on Tuesday morning from 10 to 1, and then in the evening from 5 to 8. I think I should also tell you that in the morning, Vishwanath will be joining us, the one who gave us the second talk, as an external observer and participant in that conversation. And in the evening, somebody who perhaps you all have not experienced in the studio yet is Vishwanath Kashikar, who is a faculty at SEPT presently, will be joining us in the evening session. And he has, perhaps without your knowledge, been observing the studio, has been participating with the instructors, and is a key observer of pedagogical methods and how we do things. And so I think that it will be an interesting conversation that we'll have. He's of course also a very old dear friend.
So, Sudipto, do we want to quickly run through all the things? Do you think we should or we shouldn't? What do they think? What do all of you?
I would really like to hear from the participants who've been keeping quiet. Would you like to run through your projects once, or do you want to do that on Tuesday?
I've seen all the ones that were put up, and they're quite complete and they're ready to go. So I don't think I would like to interfere in any way in what you have presented. No, Sudipto, don't you think?
Yeah, I think so. I think the ones which have not, I mean, I think Daraganj is still working on it. I could not access the Miro board. So maybe the ones who are still working on it can continue. And I think it'll be problematic to kind of interrupt that process right now. But I mean, take it to the point where you think that's good for you. On Tuesday, is there a sequence that we should work out? I think we should.
I think that is a conversation we should have tomorrow, looking at the work that's been put up, and see perhaps which three groups go in the morning and which in the evening. That's something we can then later.
think
But I just, but yeah, sorry, go on.
it should be mixed. Not all water go to Vishwanath.
Not exactly why I think we should discuss it perhaps a little bit. Yeah.
But you guys, you don't want to say anything. Right? Because afterwards you'll be talking in front of those outsiders who will have come and all that. So today is a chance to say, यार, बहुत ज़्यादा हो गया, क्या करें? Just one, I'm curious. When you joined the studio, and it's a completely voluntary act that you have done, and you stayed through all of this. Why? You know, yesterday again, Taranath is fantastic fellow. I'll share that link with all of you. He was saying that there is a difference between a shishya and a chhatra. Yeah. Shishya, he chooses to go to learn. And chhatra is one who fits into the system. And all of you chose to come. And all of you chose to stay on. For 5 weeks, working day and night. Some of you, in Mexico and other places, not even sleeping at night sometimes. Why did you do this? Did you enjoy the company of everybody? First thing. Yeah. I think that's very important. That the atmosphere that developed between you. And they're quite different people. In each group, there was a range of people whose thought processes were different, whose way of drawing was different, whose way of using the visual world was different. And all of you sort of rubbed. And I'm sure that at times there was heat generated out of that friction. But somehow you stayed on. What is it in you that makes you stay on? I'm always fascinated by that. What is it that makes you persist? That's a question we should keep, very carefully, because that's the source of your energy.
I
I
guess.
to put. Go on, sorry, go on.
Go ahead. You can go ahead. For me, it was the sense of surprise that the process held. Like I could never predict what would come out like the next day. And since everyone was working in parts, and then when it came together, it was a completely new thing. Like how I would imagine when I'm drawing, and then how another person brings what they did together, and then it becomes one. It's something that keeps you like excited. At least I was always looking forward to what's coming up, and I never knew what would be the like probable end result. So there's like constant evolution, constant exploration, and you kept looking forward to what's going to come up next. So yeah, for me that was what kept me going.
Yeah, I think it was like in very simple words, it was fun. It was a very fun learning experience which had a no pressure situation. Like even if we had the deadlines, we weren't like whatever pressure we put on ourselves was voluntary. We were like it would be nice if we can finish it by then, but if not, I mean it doesn't matter. So, and it was like even the conversations, the lecture series, the instructor engagements, and the individual it was fun. I mean, I don't know what other word to use, but we had
I was
fun.
going to say the same thing. It was fun, so we stayed.
Yeah. Otherwise, it was quite easy to drop out also because a lot of people did. So nobody would have noticed had we left also.
Actually, we would have noticed.
Yeah, surely. Especially you, if you had left. I'm looking at all those who are speaking. And if you had left, then I think one would have felt a little bit deprived.
But by nobody would have noticed, I probably meant that had I left, I wouldn't have given it a second thought, right? I wouldn't have thought what's happening over there. So it would have gone unnoticed for myself, maybe. But yeah, I mean, it was fun sticking around till the end.
Uh, though I would agree to the fact that बहुत ज़्यादा हो गया and constantly like we I I think we were a little pressurized, but we were not pressurized by anybody but our own thoughts and thinking about so many things at the same time. Like there were times when different speakers were bringing out different points of view, and to get that in our process is not like it requires some pressurization on our mind. And I think in some way it was good to not feel like you used to earlier, and we kind of prepared ourselves to feel a little different, and like we kind of mend our minds in that way to feel different for this 1.5 months.
For me, I needed a pause and a nudge in some way, and that was one of the reasons I wanted to get into this. This is like 15 years. You go on in a direction, and maybe there's a sense of self-doubt which comes because we all hold a lot of power within us in the spaces we do and the spaces lives we change and etc. So it needs to, I cannot say correct, but it should be guided by the right intentions. And in that sense, once you pause and once you reflect back on certain things in a multi-narrative, I would say, because we tend to become a monologue in a way. So that was very, very necessary. So that was my intent of, being and I'm really very happy the way it was. That's where when it came to this phase 4, I kind of stepped back because I just wanted to play along, like the way Viggy would say, be the bunty of the group, just do what people say, not say what has to be done, because I'd done enough of it.
No, but it was great. Every time we talked, I loved the fact that there was somebody who was closer to me in time.
The white hair, yeah.
No, not there.
Joking. Just joking.
Some work experience, all of that, which meant that there are things which did not need to be said or explained, and also positions had developed in you and in me, and I had to rethink some of the things after we talked. 2 or 3 occasions of that kind. And I think this was a salutary experience in that sense.
Yeah, it was really amazing. Really amazing. Amazing.
Yeah, so shall we then meet on Tuesday?
We'll be meeting for chai tomorrow on Sunday.
Okay.
So anyone who's we are happy to have you guys join us for tea in the morning. But yeah, with a cup.
What time?
Yesterday we did conversation with Sabyasachi was talking Gandhi, and in brackets with tea and marmalade. And so everybody in the audience asked him a question that why did you use this title? You are just trying to make us feel bad because you have tea in your hand and we don't.
It's also very colonial, no? Tea and marmalade. I don't know what.
Yeah, very specifically.
Yeah. Chai biscuit.
Chai biscuit.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I think we'll meet on Tuesday. There is this thing about the certificate, which we have to also give you all. And I'm wondering how important is it for you? Of course, you're going to get it, but I just want to know, is it something, what kind of a certificate would you like? Is it a piece of paper that is important, or is it something more? Have you thought about this?
Divya was looking very perplexed. कि ये certificate कहाँ से आ गया? Was
और ये भी हमें डिजाइन करना पड़ेगा.
श्रीफल से वो करते हैं ना.
Something from Delhi, na?
Yes.
Bottle of water from the Yamuna.
And the address to the testing lab.
पूरी दुनिया में से दिल्ली में जाता है. दिल्ली से कुछ आता नहीं है. Let's see. One idea, if we can ask all our lecturers that if they don't mind, we will append their signature on this, all the speakers. It's not a hand signature, but it is there. If they agree, that would be fantastic to, even for us to have a certificate which says he was part of Koshe Studios, and then, Ulam Sheikh and Vidya Rao, all these people have signed it. It would be fantastic, no?
I want that.
Yeah.
Or we can have another kind of certificate in which we say, we all were party to this. And we all sign, all the students or participants and everybody, including the speakers. Then you get a kind of a scroll. Like the Delhi Declaration 20.
You'll have to add one more signature, na? Who was not a part of the studio, but because of whom the studio happened.
That will be the.
I'll just show you something.
I also wanted to have conduct one more survey for you guys about the exercises and which one was your favorite.
The Chinese whispers.
Chinese whispers was okay after you got your core values.
Yeah.
So the stage 2.
Stage 3. The three stages that we went through for the design process. I think all three of were very fun to look at.
It was the first one, the very first one. Like
the time.
Yeah, like I am still sort of like every talk or every lecture that's happening, there's something in there which I sort of want to think about it in that sense. That was very, very enjoyable. I'm still sort of pursuing it. So yeah, for me it was definitely the first one, which was very, very intriguing. Yeah.
Yeah, you're going to show us something?
No. I was talking to my daughter. No, not to you. Sorry.
No, that's all right. I thought you had some certificate which you wanted to.
No. Certificate. Yeah, if everybody's names are there, and what you said is, I think the thing that I would say, glad to be a part of Porsche, all of us. And if it is there in the future, I'd be there.
That sounds like a plan then. A long scroll with all our names, as if we were part of a cricket team.
Yes.
And yeah, that sounds good.
But it could even be a circular one, huh? Like the Mayan calendars. They had those beautiful calendars, which I bought one in Mexico, and we could use, and all the names are like that. So there will be sort of going in radials or in a circle. And it can be a very nice thing.
So then Divya's question will also be answered. That we know who is the center.
Yeah, that will be
The name, the empty center.
Yes.
Central Vista.
No, the empty center. It has to
Empty.
be, because all energy comes from where there is nothing. Even in physics, energy comes from where there is nothing, not from where there is something. So there has to be a hole, so that you can, like a Sudarshan Chakra, you can use that certificate. Swing it round. We have got an Australian who can help. We have got 2 Mexicans. We have got Anna. And they will help us design this. Okay. I think that's a good idea. Let's ask our international friends to do something for us.
What?
Like the calendar, the Mexican calendar.
Okay. Wait, it's just a noise outside. But yeah, we can make a proposal for the certificate in a Mayan perspective.
Yes, it can be very nice. Yes.
Yeah, but we have to make sure that they are able to mail it. So it'll have to be put in a square envelope and not too large, or it's folded.
Oh.
But in that sense, your scroll idea is good because it can be put in a tube.
Small tube, yes.
Okay. I will call Andrea and working together with that.
And participants will be responsible to connect the 2 ends and make it a cylinder.
And you have to pass it on to the next person to complete the cylinder.
So a lot of the participants I felt were in between, in an in-between space. Tell me if I'm wrong, but you were in a space where you had finished something and you were going to start something else, and you were in between. And in that in-between space, did this studio do something?
Yeah, I think I would really relate to that line. That was kind of like the crux of my whole intent of being here. And I've always loved transitions the most in life. Like when there's something big that I look forward to, I think this was something that stumbled upon me. And I was like, okay, I'm done with landscape, and now what? And that phase is very exciting for me, and I always like put all my energy into like looking out for opportunities that fit my sort of approach or intent. And I think Porsche was something I've always kept saying, that I'd never imagined something like this, and it being virtual and having so many more people connect to this is making it all the more enriching for
all of us. And in that sense, I think the transition is something that I'm still in. Like nothing has changed about it. I think it feels like even when I finished it, we've all been discussing that we've had mixed feelings about it. Like we're all really drained out, and most of us have just finished our thesis and didn't have a break after that, and we're like slogging still. So this was supposed to be a break, okay? So I imagined it to be, oh, like inspiring conversations every day, and then I can go to sleep and like dream about it and stuff. And then I stopped sleeping, and I was like, oh, okay. So it was like, I think by the end of it, it got really hectic for all of us. But like everyone was saying, that we committed to the process, and we believed in this. Like all of us felt that something really good is going to come out of it. So let's stick around. Like it's okay. It's just till 19th and okay, 22nd now. And we're like, we're going to stick on to this and see what's going to come out. And the product, more than that, I think all of us really bonded well. And I mean, we to an extent that we started missing people. Like if one person didn't turn up for the meeting, we're like, oh, we missed you today. And it became so emotional in that sense. And I'd never thought I'd bond with people like that virtually and so quickly. And I mean, it just picked up pace after the first stage. And we all like harmoniously like fluttering butterflies. It felt good.
Even as Sudipto sir said, I'm in the stage of in between, physically as well as I relocated to a different continent, and I'm just starting my life here. So this just it just gave me a lot of perspectives, especially for like initially I was like, I shouldn't put my brain shouldn't rust. That is why I joined. Initially, I'm like, I'm going to do something. I can't just lie around. Corona can't beat me this way. And I have to join this. I saw this and I'm quickly registering and all that. But I am like, I knew it. And I knew for a fact that I wouldn't leave this and go, because each and every talk has given so much of a perspective and made me more humble in a lot of sense in terms of thinking. And I wouldn't know what I missed if I wouldn't have joined. So I consider myself privileged. Literally, I mean, there's no words from, I really consider myself privileged to be part of this.
So great to hear.
I'm also sort of in this in-between place where I left my old job and I thought I'd spend some time and travel before I take up a new job, but then Corona happened. But at least like through this, I got to travel like at least to Delhi, and with Andrea and our team, like we had like an amazing almost experience of Mexico. So it's been really cool.
Even for me, it is like an in-between stage, because like I've just left my job a few months back, and I'm moving forward I'm going forward to do my master's now. So like the perspective of the way I looked at things, and like also working in groups, and it has changed a lot in like there was this disconnect from my fifth year, where we used to work in groups in a way, and then again it has come up. So it has basically given a kickstart for this new phase that is coming after. So like my college is actually starting from next week, and so it's a nice it was a nice phase.
Great. So shall we close the session and meet on Tuesday at 10 a.m. for everyone? And I think instructors can meet a little earlier, or shall we meet? We'll figure that out, right? Yes.
maybe earlier for the international
Oh,
students.
so we could do
Yeah.
international students in the evening as well.
Yeah, we can look at how to organize that journey.
Okay.
Anna. Yeah.
Or Riyaz,
Yes.
if it is required, those who are from Mexico and the timings are not matching, if you want to start earlier, you can. I will join in at 10 o'clock.
No, so I think the idea of working it out so that the evening session takes most of the groups that has we can look at it, sir.
Yeah.
And make
Andrea from our group will probably message one of the instructors because she's going to be traveling. So she has to just check the times because she had a flight on 21st, her 21st. So
Right.
she will probably message one of you all to see what fits the time.
Fair enough.
She will do it from the
Yeah,
airport,
when
but
we get.
yeah.
Okay.
Where is she traveling during these times?
She's going to New York, I think, and so
Going to California to
Pick up a new job.
yeah, some.
speaking
So she likes
lessons or
to
something.
go to places and without a return ticket. So that's what she's going to do. She has a ticket for 21st, but she doesn't know when she'll be back, and so that's how she's planned it.
So I don't know if you guys know that Anna's been really an incredible support to us as far as the video editing and all of that is concerned. Of all the talks that were, all the video work has been done by her. So in over and above, the hi there, Anna. You've got a lot of people speaking for you on your behalf. So yeah. So no, I just to tell everybody that those wonderfully edited videos are a lot of that hard work has been done by her.
Thank you.
Thank you, Anna.
My pleasure. My pleasure. It was a wonderful studio in return.
Full of love, huh?
Sorry?
No,
You
because-
ask why I keep going, and the answer is always love.
Yes,
So
I know.
the answer is always love. And I look forward to meeting on Zoom with my group for the rest of my masters.
Yeah.
Fantastic. Fantastic.
Because we have
And
disturbed
we
her a lot.
will, sorry.
Yes, we have disturbed her a lot, even in our studio, in our discussions and all. We have called her in the morning, 3 or 4 o'clock. So yes, we would continue that. We would love to continue that.
Yeah, one trip to India is pending, Anna.
Yeah. Actually, I've thought about how every time I ask someone if I should go to Delhi, everyone has said no. Not a single person has said yes. They always tell me about the pollution or the traffic or why would you go there? And now I have plenty of reasons to come and visit and plenty of people to see.
Hey, Anna,
So
you
it's very
hadn't
difficult.
asked me. I would have said yes.
I never know where you are, Gayatri. You're around the world, so. But yeah, really wonderful coming from outside. Thank you so much, Riaz and Sudipto, and everyone else.
Thank you, Anna.
So join us for the future sessions. We don't know how it's going to pan out, but we know that something is going to come of this. And Porsche Volume 2, Volume 3, we'll see you guys soon, hopefully.
Yeah. And do spread the word, you have to say that these days.
Like कीजिए, share कीजिए, subscribe कीजिए.
Okay.
All right.
Okay.
See you on Tuesday. Bye.
See you all on Tuesday.